I wonder, did any of you eagle-eyed students of the craft spot the deliberate mistake? This deliberate mistake here, that was set up to be just too narrow to go around the other one without the layer of whipping in between. So to make another one, which is a much more snug fit. And since I can't really, I've tried skiving this with a knife and whatever, tried hammering it into place before offering it up, but the best method I found for rounding it off is this. Up at the top, and when I get to down here, there's just a little bit to go. Just pressing it like stiff plasticine into place. It's a longer job than messing with the leather. There's probably about 10-15 minutes of fiddling around here. But there is that. Pretty much done. Yeah, there you go. Done. Turk's heads. Okay. I'm going to be holding it like this and winding the Turk's head round like that, so it'll be closed up at the butt end and open out here. Since this came off a bit of leather in a spiral fashion, it's got a slight curve one way. What I do is I make it so that the curve is going, the natural curve of the leather is going this way around the whip rather than the other way. It just lays in a little bit neater. And what I've done is beveled the right hand side. If that's the top, the working end, then I've beveled right-handed, in other words the left hand side of both grain and flesh sides. Again, because I found it lays in neater, as we'll discover, I hope. Actually, I'll take this off to where it, just before it was tied on, and take some off the flesh side. I'm using a split prong needle for this, available from craft stores, leather craft stores, Tandy and so forth. Crimp it up in place. Two little prongs hold the leather in place. Right, how do I describe verbally a Turk's head? Not a clue, so I'm just going to do it and show you. Let's see. When the whip is coiled, kind of like that. When one is using the whip, it's the other way around. And I found that the start and end position of the strand are better at the top in that case, at the bottom in that case. Just fits the hands a little bit neater, which is why I put the seam of the foundation where it is. Right, lay it across there, spiral it round and across itself, round and up. And under itself here. There are thousands of people probably doing this on YouTube, so if this is incomprehensible, so that goes over the top of that strand there, around the back, and under, so it's under where the strand went in, over those two, that one and that one, and in that one there. This is a 5-part 4 bight Turk's head. Now when I come back here, I go over these two. This is called making tracks. That last one that came round here went over the top of that, so this one can now split the tracks, like that. And this one goes under that one and under that one, so it might as well go over this one. Not might as well, it has to. Around the back. Over that one and under that one. And back under where the start of the strand comes out the opposite direction. Okay, now that was probably a bit confusing. I mean, I'm not really an expert at the knot side of at the knots. So, let's find a bit of space here. Okay, what I want to do now is set that up, because I'm going to go around another couple of times. So I now get my spacing organised. This is why it's a little bit loose. Let more leather in. I want it to be about the right shape, with the same sort of spacing all the way around, the same angles for the strands this way and that way. Okay, so now I just follow the previous one round. I might have to redo this, figure out a more of a method. Some people use a mandrel, tie it on the mandrel, well, probably more complicated knots than this, and then take it off and offer it up to the workpiece. But I think everybody ties a 5-part 4 bight Turk's head just straight onto the whip. It's all very loose, and when I've done, I'm going to have to go around with that little awl and tighten it all up. Starting with the third pass, as it were, of the strand, and then going back to the middle one, and then the first one. And all the while making sure that these bevels are tucked in the right way. So if you do bevel your strand, it'll take longer to finish the whole thing off, but it's much smoother in the hand when thrashing about with your whip for hours on end. Especially down here at the start of the knot, there's no ridge, or there's a very much reduced ridge. If when you're tying one of these things, you keep the general shape of the knot and don't allow it to squish out of shape, it'll be much easier. Like I say, I'm getting a bit tentative here because I do this 5-part 4 bight Turk's head knot. I do a couple of other Turk's heads as ring knots. They're open at the end. I do that 19-part 8 bight perfect pineapple knot. And the only other pommel covering I do is to plait the overlay strands, as on the sjambok you saw in the first of this series. Just cut the overlay strands a little bit wider at the pommel, and have the pommel foundation on the layer underneath that, be it a core or a plaited belly. Now I've cut this to 5 3/4 mil wide on my little proprietary strand cutter. If you use a different type of strand cutter or do it by eye, you might arrive at a different nominal figure. It's a bit of trial and error to work out how much leather you need to actually cover the whole thing properly without it rucking up or overlapping itself, whatever. It's about 1/2 3/4 mil more if you bevel the strands, because they tuck in underneath each other like that. Once again, all the time, monkeying with it, playing around with it, making sure it's as close to its finished shape as possible all the time. Probably one of the reasons I never got on with Rubik's Cubes. So it's got to really come out of form and then go back in again and all the rest. Never got my head around them. So, here we are enjoying, ooh, now it's getting a bit tight. We're enjoying a bit of an Indian summer here in Wales, on the Welsh border. Last week of September. I'm off to Spain, which is why all this lot is getting packed up. Now it's getting suitably snug. And that's the kind of thing you've got to do, is tuck the bevelly bit in underneath. I won't go through the whole rigmarole of tightening it all in front of your very eyes. Because it takes a long time. I really want that tucked under there, don't I? So there's lots of bits of shoehorning going on and stuffing underneath and heaving and tugging again. There you go. Oh yes, at this point in the proceeding, it's good not to have anything sharp kicking about, because your whip is skittering around all over the place. Got to make sure, you know, be careful up here at the top to make sure it's not rucked up too much. I mean, if this strand turns out to be too wide, I'll just simply take it off and cut a narrower one. Likewise, you know, if it's too wide, too narrow, I'll have to go back and do it again. Did I leave enough slack? Because again, if I haven't left enough slack, I might want to go and feed it back in again. If I've left too much slack, I might want to take it up. You know, trying to get it all right first time round is always a wee bit on the tricky side. And now, when you... right, I prefer to give these strands, the pommel strands, a really good grease and slick and pull and tug and stretch and everything. Get as much of the stretch out of them as possible before tying a knot. So it doesn't change much. Otherwise it's all baggy and it's you know, got to have lots of overlap here, and then as it stretches it narrows down and you've got to second guess how much. And while some might go for the idea of using one of the outer portions of less high quality leather, because it's not really a stress component, you don't have to cut it and trim it and all that kind of thing. So I tend to use the central portion, or as central as I can get for a width of 5 3/4 mils, which turns out to be around about the right kind of chunk of leather. This is the last one. Right kind of radius to cut this kind of strand. Right. Now, question is that crossover point in the middle? And do I monkey about with it now, as I go, or what? Yeah, what I do is just snug these down a little bit here, like that. Right, that's the knot formed. Oh no, it's not. Come down here. Now I think I have the right amount of leather for a really nice pommel when it's all tightened up. It looks about that right now. There's just enough spare up here. There's enough overlap down here. Let's crack on and finish it. If it were a bit gappy here, I'd run it underneath this set and underneath this set, but I think that is its logical conclusion. Up there. Okay, now, what I want to do now is take the strand, the third strand that's just gone in, and tighten that up. If I tighten these ones up here, the first two, it'll push up here and it'll make it difficult to tighten the third one, so I'm tightening these fellas here, which are also the inside for here. So I don't need too much this way, because the next time round I'm going to be coming up this way and tightening the middle one. Oh yeah, if my camera cuts out, I do apologise, it does that every 35 minutes or so. I don't know why, but we'll get what we get, shall we? Okay. I think you get the drift, don't you? You do all this round here like that, and when it comes out here as the working end of the strand. When that's done and dusted, in there and grab the middle one, pull it tight. Be careful with the end of your fid there and your plaiting, and pull it like that, and that goes over the bevel of the previous one and under the bevel of that one. Because when that one's come round all the way, start off as the strand you've just pulled that way, pull it back this way, and it becomes the middle. It'll come round here, and then you'll be pulling the outside one. So, just to recap, I'm tightening the last pass to go around, and then I'm going back for the middle one, and then that will go around into the inside pass there, and all the slack will come out there. Tedious, lengthy business. What I'm going to do when I've finished these two Turks heads is hang them up and give them a little brush over with shellac. I'm using what am I using? Ronseal's button polish. Shellac solution with a little bit of mess in it to just thin it out a little bit because it's a bit sticky otherwise, and a little fine brush it on. Dead simple. You don't need to see that, do you? So what I might do is show you these when they're ready to go off to their new owners, and they're all shiny and everything. You don't have to do the shellac treatment. Some people prefer the smell of the leather and the feel of it and everything, and indeed the look of it, when it's not so possibly artificially shiny with the shellac. It'll come off eventually anyway. I find that some of the saddle soap creams take it off quicker. Then, you know, if you wanted it plain like that, then it'll just be a matter of saddle soap and a little bit of grease every now and then for maintenance. Right. If I squeeze in another video, it'll be a, well, hello and goodbye, that's your whips finally made kind of a video. But that's pretty much it, isn't it? Next serious project will be a snake whip, and my way of doing the shot-loaded cores. Bye for now.